Time for us to check in with Dr. Joe Schwarcz, host of the Dr. Joe Show, which airs Sundays at 3 here on CJAD. And, of course, he's also director of the McGill Office for Science and Society. Now, when we spoke last week, Joe, we talked about different things that we come across or that I've come across on the internet, on social media, debunking for the most part, most of them. But then I'd read something on something called red dates. So I think everyone knows about dates, your regular kind of dates. But these were specifically red dates. I think the origin goes back to China. And so I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of benefits here nutritionally to these. They look good. It's a regular, normal kind of fruit. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. So I bought myself a big bag of them. They're fine. Then I thought I better check with Dr. Joe in case I'm being hosed here. So, Joe, what research have you done in the past week on red dates?
Did you buy the dried ones or the...
Dried,
okay.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that will have a very high sugar content. Okay, just like dried apricots or dried dates, whatever, the high sugar content. But, I mean, how many of these are you
like
eat?
2 or 3 a day.
Right, so I don't think you have to worry about the sugar content there. Anyway, like you said, I did do my research on this, and it's actually called the jujube fruit. I found that interesting because the only jujubes I had ever heard of were the candies that you buy mostly in movie theaters. And, those are basically sugar and starch and pectin.
And artificial colors,
and, all the stuff that you don't really want. Well, it turns out that the original candy actually was flavored with the juice of the jujube. But that takes us back to the 18th century. But after that, the jujube flavoring disappeared and it's just essentially a flavored sugar candy. But amazingly, there's a fair amount of research on the jujube fruit. Almost all of it, though, comes from China. As you know, herbal medicine and ancient traditional medicine very popular in China. And that basically goes back to Mao Zedong, who wanted to make sure that the Chinese don't go too much into Western culture. So he promoted the use of ancient Chinese remedies, and the jujube fruit is one of those. Now, as I said, there has been really a surprising amount of research. But, you can take any fruit or any vegetable and start feeding it to mice and to rats. You will find something. These plant products are all chemically very complex. They contain certainly some vitamins and minerals, and, of course, a lot of polyphenols. And those are compounds that we've talked about many times before. These are the supposed beneficial ingredients in blueberries and strawberries. They're also responsible for the color of those fruits. And yes, when you go into the laboratory and you do studies in Petri dishes or in mice, you can find that they have all kinds of effects, including antioxidant effects, that is, they can neutralize free radicals in solution. But that is a long way from showing any kind of human benefit. As I'm very fond of saying, the human body is not a large test tube, and we are not giant mice. So before we jump on any bandwagon in terms of, what to eat or what supplements to take, what you want to see is whether or not there's any evidence for humans in terms of clinical studies. And I can't find any for the jujube fruit. There certainly are all kinds of studies on mice and rats and even fruit flies on extending the life expectancy of fruit flies. So, there's a lot
that's
of
good enough for me, Joe.
That's good enough, right? But, no matter what kind of berry or fruit you take, and you do these kind of studies, you will find something. You grope around in the dark, and you will find some source of light. So I don't think that there's any harm in popping a couple of these, dried jujube berries, but I wouldn't put any faith on any sort of miraculous effect that is being promoted on the internet.
Okay.
And anyway, as I said, almost all of these studies come from Chinese researchers who are affiliated with traditional medicine hospitals in China, of which there are many. So, of course, they do these studies to try to promote traditional Chinese medicine.
Not that there's anything wrong with traditional Chinese medicine.
No.
Right.
I mean, it's. But you got to look to see whether or not there's any human clinical evidence.
Okay.
Okay.
That's either way. I'm fine. But with respect to the sugar content, there's not a lot of. I looked at the bag, like the per serving thing. There's 10 grams of sugar if you ate like 8 of them or 10 of them, which I don't. So I think we're okay.
Right.
Okay.
Don't worry. If you enjoy it, go ahead.
Okay. That said, you wanted to talk about a very important issue, Joe. This is a story that we came across, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. Doctors, specifically those working in the operating room, expelling gas.
Right. And, I mean, this happens. We all do this. We don't like to talk about it. But, anywhere from 10 to 20 times a day, we release some gas. Sometimes it is quite odoriferous because there can be some hydrogen sulfide in there. That's the odor of rotten eggs.
Sure.
And that is produced when proteins break down in digestive tract. But hydrogen sulfide has such a potent smell that even trace amounts of it can be smelled. And although in large doses, hydrogen sulfide is toxic, not in the doses that are released in human flatus. Human flatus is basically carbon dioxide and nitrogen and oxygen from inhaled air, and very small amounts of methane and hydrogen sulfide.
So why are we concerned by this?
Right. Well, the concern isn't about the gases. The original concern was whether or not you're expelling any microscopic fecal particles along with the gas.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Which is a theoretical possibility. And of course, those would contain bacteria. So that was worthy of looking into. And researchers did look into that, believe it or not. And they carried out a study, although as far as I can tell, it was a study of N=1. There was only one subject. Who was asked to flatulate onto a Petri dish, which was held a few centimeters from his rear. And he was asked to do this twice, once wearing clothing, and the other was an unclothed fart. And then they cultured the Petri dish to see what happened. And when he was wearing clothing, absolutely nothing happened. There were no bacteria that passed through the clothing.
Good to know.
But if someone drops their trousers and passes gas into a Petri dish, there will be some bacteria that can be cultured.
Okay. Now I got to wrap up, but I guess the good news from that, Joe, is unless your surgeon is operating on you in the nude, you're probably okay.
That's the exact correct sign.
There you go. The answers we come on with this show. Dr. Joe Schwarcz. Joe, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.